Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol, and welcome to another electric car. So behind me is a Kia E Niro full electric car. I've got this car for the next 2 weeks, and the last time I tried to live with an electric car, it kind of didn't go very well, and I had a huge amount of criticism in the comments. So I've learned from my mistakes. And hopefully, over the next 2 weeks, firstly, I know for sure I'm going to do a huge amount of miles in this car. For a start, I'm about to get in it and drive 300 miles to Wales, and it has a range of about 250 to 270 miles, so I will need to charge up on the way. But I think this is going to be an interesting video. This is my living with an electric car, take 2. Okay, so we are on our way. Now, let me give you a little bit of an idea about my plans for this video. The last time I lived with an EV was the Audi e-tron, and I had a few problems with charging infrastructure and lots of criticism. So I've got this Kia E Niro for the next 2 weeks for a range of things, some of which I'm going to put on YouTube, some of which I can't. Right now, I'm on my way to Wales via Chalfont St Giles. I need to pick up a couple of friends at Chalfont St Giles. I have 250 miles of range, and I know I'm probably going to have to stop at some point. A couple of things I've done since the last time I lived with an EV. Number one, thanks to all the suggestions, I have downloaded Zap Map onto my smartphone, which is most excellent, so I'll be able to find the charging stations. And number two, I reckon I've registered with 5 different charging point companies, downloaded their app, registered, put my payment or credit card details in, so I've got lots of different options to charge the car when I get to charging stations. So hopefully, we should be all right. Now, let me go through a couple of ground rules about how I'm going to approach living with this car for the next 2 weeks. Number one, I'm going to use all the things in the car that I would normally do with an internal combustion engine car. So I have aircon on. If it gets cold, this car has heated seats, heated steering wheel. So I'm going to use all of those things. The other thing, it's got 3 drive modes in this car, Eco, Normal and Sport. I'm actually going to stay in Normal and just see how that affects my fuel consumption. But this really, I just want to see finally what it's like to do proper miles in a car that is fully electric. None of this kind of range extender or hybrid thing going on here. Fully electric car. I am at the mercy of the charge network. Whoa! We have arrived. So, meet Richard and Alex. We are going to Wales. You won't be able to see anything because it's dark, and I probably won't use this footage because it's dark.
And because we're in it.
And you're. But I've done 70 miles and I've still got 183 miles of range.
That is brilliant.
It's not bad. Look, I've been driving 94% economically.
Wow, well done.
Pretty good. I'm massively impressed with myself.
Were you going at 30 the whole way?
No, I was actually doing reasonable speeds. So we've got 183 miles of range left. Oh, 186 miles to get there.
I think we're going to need a burger stop on the way, don't you think? Oh, look.
Oh!
Right.
It's all right, we'll get going.
Will we get to Telford?
Yeah.
Because Telford's got a 50 kilowatt.
Yeah, I've got.
Hasn't it?
I'll have a look at Zap Map. You can use Zap Map for me. Right, we'll see you when we get there. Electricity help, there we go. I don't have the app. I have the app. How do I even start? This isn't funny. This is really annoying.
What's going on?
Mate, I tell you, my app's not working. You're at Telford Services, yes. Connect your connector, I have. That's that one. Initialization error. An error with charge point occurred. Oops, there's been an error. Can we go to that other one?
Yeah, it's empty now.
Yeah, let's go to this one.
So this pump is just now working?
It's just crap. This electric thing is never going to take off. Take 2. Connect your vehicle. Here we go. Pre-charging, come on, come on. Oh, there's lights on there. It worked! Right, and so here we go, warts and all vlog. I have checked on ZapMap, and that charger actually has a fault on it, which is why it wouldn't connect in the first place. And we've put a charge on that, but it basically disconnected after half an hour of charging while we were having some food, which is very, very annoying. So I've come back out again and set it charging because it had only got to 57% of charge, which was really, really annoying. So I'm gonna have to go back in and have another coffee. These are the things we're finding out. Still not convinced, you know. Okay, the quiz has been answered, so we've had a look. Apparently, these Ecotricity chargers time out after 45 minutes. It's the longest charge you can have. Unfortunately, we had not a huge amount of charge in the car, so I've needed to plug it in for another 45 minutes. So, hopefully, we'll find out how much we've got left. 83%. That'll do. So, finally at our overnight stop. It did take a little bit longer to charge than planned because what I hadn't realised was, I mean, that was a 50 kilowatt charger, so significantly quicker than even if you had a home charger, which would be a 7 kilowatt. So I hadn't realised you only had a 45-minute maximum charge on those Ecotricity charge stations. The first charge, which was 47 minutes actually, was £9.99. And then I went back again, replugged in for another half an hour or so, and that was £6.69. And that ended up with, I think we got there with 25-30 miles worth of range. We left with just under 200 miles of range. We've now got to our destination in Wales, and I think we had about 150 miles of range on the car when we got here. And I need a full charge tomorrow, so we actually have managed to find an external power socket and just put it on the granny charger to charge overnight. Hopefully by the morning we'll have as much charge as possible, because tomorrow we need as much charge in the car as we can get, because I'm going on a very long journey tomorrow. But for now I am absolutely cream crackered, so I'm going to get some sleep. Good morning everyone. Well, overnight on the granny cable we managed to get up to 88% charge, which is disappointing but understandable. The more I learn about electric cars, that last 80% of charge is actually the bit that takes the longest, which is why you often find that EV companies quote up to 80% charge times, because the last bit is the kind of bit that takes a little bit of time. So I've now got the car on a 7 kilowatt charger at the destination I'm at. So hopefully we'll get full charge today, because we need it, because we're going on a bit of a road trip. But I'm not going to be able to film that. But the next time you see this car on this vlog, I will update you on how we got on. Well, fast forward 4 days and I'm back in the Kia Niro on this vlog. That doesn't mean to say I haven't been driving it in between. In fact, the last 3 days I've spent a huge amount of time in this car. Since I picked up this car and this vlog started, I've actually done 1,500 miles. I've been sat in this seat for 35 hours. For another project, unfortunately, I can't share with you. I've been using this car a lot, and therefore I have learned a huge amount about owning and running and living with an electric vehicle. Sitrep where we are at the moment, I'm now on my way to stay with some friends this evening. Now, I can't get all the way to their house on the current charge. My current charge state is 68 miles, so I'm going to stop off at a Shell charge station that I found on ZapMap. That's 55 miles away, so I do have a little bit of anxiety because I'm going to get there probably with about 15 miles of range left, but I'm just trying to maximise my my charging. What I would say is over the last 4 days I've had some very good experiences of running an electric car, and a couple of not so good ones, like turning up at a charge station where I have very little charge to find out it wasn't working, had to then drive another 10k to find a charge station to find out there was a car plugged into it. So those are sometimes the things that can go wrong, but on the whole very, very good. So the rest of this vlog, I want to just bring you along on the journey that I couldn't do the last 3 or 4 days with my week with the Kia Niro. So after the week I've had with this car, I am getting quite good with the old range anxiety thing, but I must say I might be pushing my luck at the current moment, because I've only got a positive delta of about 12 miles, so I've just pushed the car into Eco Plus mode. So it has Eco, Normal and Sport. And honestly, this week, most of the time I've been driving around on the motorway in Eco mode and eking out as much mileage as possible, and it's done really, really well. And I've just put it in Eco Plus mode, and what that does is it limits the car's top speed to 60 miles an hour, and it shuts off some of the other ancillary systems that are likely to drain the charge, so things like the air conditioning and so on, to just eke out even more mileage. So I'm just going to run it for, I've got 40 miles to go to the next charge station and 50 miles of range, so I'm just going to see how I get on. What I like about pushing it to the edge in terms of range and the next charge is you change the way you drive the car, so I can adjust the regenerative braking on the car with some paddles behind the steering wheel. So you try and obviously minimize your throttle input and kind of accelerate gently, but when you're coming into corners or when you need to just back off, if you put the regen braking on reasonably high on one of its higher settings, as you lift the throttle off, the car retards itself quite quickly and you build back some power. So for example, if you're coming off of a dual carriageway and you've been doing, let's say, 60, and you use the regenerative braking to basically slow the car down on the exit off of the motorway or off of the dual carriageway, you can regain a half a mile or a mile's worth of range just by doing that. So you end up kind of becoming a real range nerd. So what's my view of the E Niro? Well, very simple answer to that is I now understand why this car is currently getting so many awards and plaudits from people. It really is very, very good. Range-wise, I think realistic everyday range, you're looking at 250 miles from this on a full charge. And you know, you can drive it pretty normally, to be honest. Yes, at the moment I'm in Eco Plus, but I've been driving it in either Eco or Normal. You can sit on a motorway at 70 miles an hour, you put adaptive cruise control on, and you can munch some miles. As I've already said, I've done a lot of miles in the car. It's very comfortable, it's very refined. All of the things that you want on this car in terms of gadgets and tech. The touchscreen display is really easy to navigate around. The sat-nav works really well. You can stream music really easily through your smartphone. It's got Apple CarPlay if you wanted to, although I haven't actually used that. Interior wise, I think it looks really nice in places. The main dashboard I think looks really smart. The bit for me that lets it down is just the use of some of the plastics aren't the best. And I guess from a price point of view, I mean, this car's like 36 grand or something, and it's a really good price for the car. If you compare it with some of the other EVs, if you want this kind of range and practicality, you need to spend quite a bit more than that. Performance wise, look, it's not going to set your world on fire from a performance point of view. It's nippy. If you put it in sport, it really is very nippy. I think it's the equivalent of a couple of 100 horsepower. The 0 to 60 time isn't going to set the world on fire, but you're certainly not going to get left behind at a set of lights. So I'm doing pretty good, actually. I've clawed stuff back. I had a positive 10 mile delta when I went into Eco Plus mode, and I've got just under 8 miles to go to the charge station and 23 miles of range. So Eco Plus works. It claws it back. Well, I made it with 11 miles of range left, but I'm now at Shell Recharge. Now, I haven't actually used one of these before, but the coolest thing about this charging network is you can just use a normal contactless payment card. You don't have to have an RFID token or an app on your phone. You can just pay with it with a contactless payment card. Apparently, let's go and find out. It's also a CCS connector, and it does 50 kilowatt charging, which is exactly what I want. Now, I am pretty low on the old juice at the moment, so I only have 4% of battery charge, which is not the best. Now, one of the things I have learned over the last few days is really you want to charge your battery when it gets to 20%, and not let it go lower than that, because it takes quite a long time to get to 20%. So your kind of effective fast charging range is from 20 to 80%. Now, I'm actually going to see if I can sit on here and get as much charging as possible, because I don't think I'm going to be able to charge the car overnight. But yeah, I'm going to get cracking and get the car charging. That is a total and utter result mega easy. Now, they should all be like that, because now on my phone I have downloaded, and I got lots and lots of flack when I did my Audi e-tron video, and I know then I was basically learning on camera, which is never a good thing. So I did lots of prep for this one. I've downloaded ZapMap, but I've also got apps for Ecotricity, Ionity, Eon, Polar Plus. Polar Plus is a challenge because I need to get an RFID token posted to me, and I didn't have a chance to do that before I had the car, and you can't pay for that through the app. There's a couple of others you can only pay for through a web interface. It's all too complicated. That, for me, this car is amazing. ZapMap is great at helping you find 50 kilowatt chargers like that, which is really what you want. You don't want to be using a 7 kilowatt charger because it would take forever to basically charge this car. But then you find a 50 kilowatt charger, then you've got to work out whether you've got the right app. So, you know, I reckon the average EV owner probably has 5 different apps registered with money, and, you know, credit card details registered with them. And that's just too complicated. Either make it like this one, just use your payment card, or have some kind of common purpose so you have one app that you can use on all of them. It's just too fragmented at the moment, and I think that for me maybe is where Tesla have it nailed, because one of the things that I really liked about Tesla is that when you've got a big sat-nav screen and you can find the nearest supercharger stations, you can see how many charging stations there are, which ones are occupied, which ones are working. It's super easy. You plug in a destination in sat-nav, and if you don't have the range to get there, it automatically routes you via a supercharging station. It's just so easy. The sat-nav on this, if I have one complaint about this car, the sat-nav on this, the sat-nav's great, but the bit that finds the charging stations really isn't great at all. And really what you want is to plug in a destination and it to say, you don't have enough range to get there, let me take you next to the, or via the nearest station, and optimize the fast charging stations. That would be great, but it kind of doesn't do that. So these are the things I'm learning. But we have a 50 kilowatt charge going on. I'm already at 7%, which is excellent. Now, so my car's telling me I've got 49 minutes to 80%, and an hour and 39 minutes to have a fully 100% battery. Now, I've actually got enough time to certainly spend an hour here. I'm actually going to do some editing. So I'm going to go and grab a coffee and leave the car on charge, and hopefully we will come back and have a nice big old charge. Now, where I'm staying tonight with some friends is only a few miles down the road, so that should be really, really easy to get there. So I'm going to go and grab a coffee. So, Costa and a Snickers. Oh, you see. Now, not only is Shell Recharge really easy to get your money in, get the connector on the car and get charging, but it's also charging this car at 72 kilowatts, which is the fastest charge I've yet had since I've had the car. And that means that I'm already at 24% and I've only been connected less than 10 minutes. So super fast. See, I'm massively in love with Shell Recharge. Massively in love. Now, the joys of being a YouTuber. I've got a video to edit. It's got to go live tomorrow night, so leave me to it. I'm busy. I might even get me specs on. You know, it's serious when I got my specs on. Oh, now there you go. Charge complete. 100% charge. Let's just see how many miles I have. 259 miles of range, 100% charge. That is your kind of realistic what you're going to get. So I'm at my destination for the night now. Interestingly, I'll just show you how big the boot is, by the way. Loads of stuff. I'm not going to plug the car in overnight. I know it's ABC always be charging, but my friend's house is over there. And see this big long bit of grass? There's no way I'm going to get a cable across there. Plus, I've only driven 20 miles since I put 100% charge in there. So ideally, I would have it on trickle charge overnight. I've got a granny cable in the car just in case, but I'm not going to do that. And then tomorrow I've got to go to a meeting not that far from here, about 20 miles from here. Good morning, everyone. I'm now on my way to a meeting for the day with my proper job, to a client I have down this part of the world. Last night we did actually pop out in the car to go and get an Indian takeout, so we have taken a few miles off the range. I didn't charge it overnight, as I've said, so I've got 213 miles of range. It's only about 20 miles to get to my client's offices. And then this evening, after I've done that, I've got to drive to Nottingham to go and visit Mama Petrol. Now, interestingly, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to charge up during the day because I need to park the car up in a car park, and it's not the kind of meeting I can kind of duck out of to take the car off of charge. But I'm kind of cool with that, because by the time I get there, I'm going to have a couple of 100 miles of range, and I will see you at the end of the day when we head off towards Mama Petrol. Well, I'll tell you what is it with the weather this week? Anyway, I have finished my work with my client, and I'm now on my way. My journey's from Cheltenham to Mama Petrol house near Nottingham, just about 100 miles. I had 200 miles of range in the car, so my plan is very straightforward. I want to get home to see my mum. So I'm just going to drive there, not bother charging, and then I'm going to put the granny charger on, the one that plugs into the 3-pin socket on the wall, overnight, just to trickle some charge in. And then tomorrow I need to drive from Nottingham all the way back home to Chichester, and I know I'm going to have to charge up, but my plan for tomorrow is to find a 50 kilowatt charger about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way, because I should have about 100 miles of range. Well, welcome to the next day in my little vlog. Now, really interestingly, I put this on trickle charge overnight at Mama Petrol house. It had about 100 miles of range on it when I arrived last night. It's been trickle charging overnight. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it has been on trickle for quite a long time. But I'm now on 96% battery charge and 252 miles of range, which, happy days, means that I can make the 180 miles back home without having to stop for a charge, which is most excellent because it means I got to spend an extra hour with my mum, and that makes me a very happy person. Well, I'm quite a bit into my journey. In fact, I've only got about 50 miles to go, but something quite interesting is happening. So 2 things are working against me on the range front. Number one, I am driving a little bit more aggressively than I've done so far in this car. I kind of really want to get home, so I'm pushing on a little bit, and that is having quite an interesting effect on my range. And then the other thing is the temperature has dropped quite a lot, so it's about 8 degrees outside, and that clearly has an impact on battery efficiency. The colder it gets, the least or less efficient the batteries are. So when I got in this car, I had a positive kind of 50-55 mile delta between range and distance to destination. That is now currently 13 miles. So just because of driving style, now look, it's exactly the same in a petrol or diesel car. If you drive a little bit harder, that's a very nice Porsche in front, by the way. If you drive a little bit harder, you are going to use more petrol or diesel, and it's exactly the same in an EV. The harder you drive, the more energy you consume. So as the light fades, I want to draw this video to a close by just giving you my final impressions of the little Kia E Niro and my epic week with the car. I have done just short of 2,000 miles in a week in this fully electric Niro, and it's impressed me hugely. The only things, negative things, I think some of the materials in here are a little on the cheap side, but when you look at the price point of the car, sort of 36 grand, with the range and the capability of the car compared to some of its rivals, it's exceptional value. The sat-nav works brilliantly. However, what I would like it to do is integrate itself with where the charge stations are far more effectively. So if you put a destination into the sat-nav, it will route you via and also optimize itself to route you via fast charge stations and make it just easier to find charge stations with that sat-nav. I've ended up using ZapMap rather than using the in-car sat-nav, so I'm not so keen on that. And then the final thing I'm not so keen on in this car is the headlamps are not great at all. And I think, you know, nowadays you get used to by xenon and LED headlamps, nice white colour, very bright. These are quite dull and orangey colour, and the full beam really isn't very good at all. So whether or not that's a choice to make them more energy efficient or not, I've got no idea, but they're just not good enough for me. But that's really, you know, the rest of the car, I think the looks are quite cool. It could be a little bit more edgy, but on the whole, a very, very impressive car. Lovely to drive. Findings in terms of living with a car for such a long period of time. Now I've learned more about the charging infrastructure and got more apps and so on. I have found it far easier to live with. Yes, you have to plan your stops in. Yes, it's a pain you have to stop for long, especially if you have a charging station go wrong on you, or you arrive at a single charge station and there's already a car there. That's happened to me this week, and it's very annoying. My main criticism is it's too fragmented. There are too many different charging network companies, and you have to have a card or an app for each one, and it's a pain. There needs to be far more kind of synergy between them all, and just bring them all up under one umbrella, or just allow me to use my credit card, or my contactless payment. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have to say a huge thank you to Kia UK for letting me have the car for a couple of weeks. I've really enjoyed living with a car. I'm getting there in terms of understanding owning an EV. I don't think it's there for me personally for my journey profile, but if I just did local journeys, this thing is a brilliant car to drive around. But I hope you enjoyed that one. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next film, guys. But you take care. Drive safe.